in her costume.
How good lad I am.
She's in character, so. And Dave Matsinko, both very talented Eckley players, and they are donating their time tonight to celebrate the end of the evening and celebrate Irish heritage and Hazleton. So I'll just turn it over to them.
Just so you be knowing, I had to go to the ladies' room. I had to keep announcing, it's okay, I am a girl.
You have a better mustache than me.
We're going to be doing for you the Ballad of Patrick Sweeney tonight. Yes. And I have a few things to explain to you. Now, General Drasher here knows all the terms I'm going to be explaining. But if you're not a Civil War nut or into local history, you might not be familiar. So we'll be wanting you to understand. During the American Civil War, the Irish were not so fond of going to fight. They viewed it as just the American Civil War. They were immigrants. What did they have to do with this American war? At that time, you could hire a substitute. Say the general drafted you, and you didn't want to go. You could pay $200, $300 to that young man over there, and he would go in your place, and it was all fine and legal. Two terms that might be familiar to you of the outer side are blacklisting and eviction. Now, people are they have this misunderstanding of the Irish. They were not miners at the time of the Civil War. They were immigrants. They had no skills. They were laborers. They were slaves. To become a first-class miner, you had to take a written test in English. So it was usually the next generation that became the first-class miner. The Irishmen, maybe worked in the breaker. Maybe they loaded the coal down in the mine into the car. They were not miners. If you worked for the company, you rented your home from the company. You bought all your goods at the company store, including what the mine worker might need. Oil for his lamp, a pick, blasting powder. So you rented your home from the company, you shopped at the company store. Some places even had a company butcher. Were you to make mine owners unhappy, you could get fired and blacklisted. That meant your name went on a list with all the other colleagues, and you could not get a job. Now, Bradford's down at St. John's, he told me his grandfather got fired twice, changed his name twice, and went on jobs at other colleges. So the Bradford family actually have 3 last names. Eviction. You all know what an eviction is, don't you? But sure, it wasn't the same back during the days of Patrick Sweeney. You got fired and blacklisted. You weren't working for the company anymore, you were no use to it. Out you went on the street. And the general can attest to this. What happened if you tried to get a union back?
They don't like the union.
Out into the street. Often the police came in the middle of the night and threw you, your family, all your possessions out in the street, and you had no recourse whatsoever. Now, for those of you that already know this, I apologize for blathering on. For you, those of you that don't, I hope you understand the anthracite and Civil War meaning of substitute, blacklisting, and eviction. Now, before we do our song, how many Irishmen do we have here in the audience? Yay! For the rest of you, I'm very sorry. But it is March, and so on the 17th, every one of you will have the opportunity to be as grand as we are. My friend Davy Owen is going to be accompanied. We're going to do the Ballad of Patrick Sweeney, and afterward we have a few song sheets, because what's a good Irish gathering without some singing?
Yes.
You ready, Davy?
I'm ready.
good lad. He worked down in the mine, and he loved his Katie, an Irish lass so fine. But the war was a raging, and cowards there were many, who sent off substitutes, trading blood for a penny.
Sure, and Dan Jones was such a one. He cared not for the right. He used his father's money to buy out Blacklisted and Richard. Sure, they were the tools that he used. To get from Patrick Sweeney, his soldiers to do.
And Katie, she did cry so, his ma and da were sad, for not a one did wish to bid farewell to the lad. Days and nights were long, neither dad nor Katie slept, for all the days of waiting, and how the women wept. One day near quitting time, while on the porch they sat, a sight they saw so awful, their breath stopped in a gasp. There 4 men brought a litter, and their feet they did drag. The corpse was torn and bloody, its face covered with a rag. Laying in front, Doherty paused and said, "We are sorry to tell you, young Patrick, he is dead." Doherty and men went back down in the mines. They still had work to do, it wasn't quitting time.
Sure, and village women came around. The body for 10. The coffin was handed up after work by the men. The keening and the wailing, the wake went all night long, and the body it was buried, not long after the dawn.
Women wept in the heart, Da stood trying to be brave. Then came time for the rope to let that casket to the grave. Not else to do but bid farewell to neighbors kind and sad. When all were gone, 'twas the time to leave without their lad. One last glimpse into the hole, each themselves they blessed, gazing at the coffin, Patrick's final rest. In their steps no hurry now, return once more, alas, to the place where Patrick had and lived and loved and laughed. The mourners trudged home and shut the door behind. Patrick waiting in the kitchen for his cake they did find. Mother, how she cried, and Katie, she did beam. Patrick said to all,
It was not for thee. For when the rock had fallen and the ghost had settled down, McGinty he lay dead, and all they died. Now McGinty he had no one, no ma, no dog, no bride, and Doherty didn't know this. I was McGinty's son. The clothes we quickly traded, on a litter McGinty placed. I didn't hold on to leaving it was safe. McGinty's pay back in the board was placed, and all for that McGinty didn't show for work that day. Behind the house I hid that night, took all the strength I had, to uncrooked hearts and break it, and hear laments so sad. Come on, me darling Katie, now. Off to the priest we're going. You'll be my bride, and we will make another patch on home. He was a good guy.
he worked down in the mine,
And he loved his Katie, an Irish lass so fine. Woo! Now we have a few ballads here you can bunch up if not. There are copies of the in progress that you can take. Also has the ballad in it. We want you to sing it. Over here. How about in that though? Yeah. I need the progress like page 38.
I'm sorry, it was my job to make copies of the ballad, and of course I ran out of paper. Oh, sorry, Regina.
Yeah, what can you do with musicians? Page 34. For those of you who have the progress, page 34, and I'm hoping you have your bifocals with you for this.
I can make copies right now.
No more copies? Yeah, we can do copies.
If anybody wants copies.
EBR, we can do copies. Well, we have them right here in the progress too. Okay. Are we ready yet? Now I want to be hearing you. If not, then I'm going to sing the whole ballad and your ears will be bleeding. Thank you.
You ready, pal? Here we go. Patrick Sweeney was a lad. He worked down in the mine.
And he loved his Katie,
An Irish lass so fine.
but the boy was a raging,
And cowards they were many.
who sent a substitute straight blood
For a penny.
And Jones was such a one
Who cared not for the right.
He used his
Father's money
to buy out of the fight.
blacklisting and eviction were the tools that he used
To get young Patrick Sweeney
his soldier into do. And Katie, she cried so, his mom and dad were sad, for not one did wish to bid farewell to the lad. These nights were long, mom and dad no Katie slept, for all the days of waiting and how the women wept. One day near quitting time, while on the porch they sat, a sight they saw so awful, their friends caught in a gasp.
And then the litter forth, and their feet they did drag. The corpse was torn and bloody, its face covered with a rag. In the front room,
Doherty paused and said,
we're sorry
to tell you, young Patrick, he is dead.
Doherty and the men
Went back down in the mine,
they still had work to do.
it was not quitting time.